a lot of the repos I have, it can be like a headache to do that, and I really try to make sure I don't have like conflicting code, but they're huge if you are like working on like 4 features at once and they have any overlapping files. It's like a very important thing to work with. But cool.
Well, one more round of applause for Ford, please. And then if you could give me one more round of applause to welcome up Esteban, who is going to be talking a little bit about CloudShip.
We'll be back momentarily.
Folks, we are back. One more round of applause for Esteban. Hello, hello. All right, thanks for bearing with us. Unfortunately, I'm not going to show a demo because it's on my laptop, but I can show you the slide. If I can do like present. Okay, well, I guess I can't really even present. Okay, so my name's Esteban. We're working on CloudChip AI, and our main focus is to build AI teams for infrastructure and DevOps. And I think this ties into like this greater picture of how we're using AI, both personally with Cloud Code and then the next generation, which is going to be how can we use them as teams. So I see a world where you onboard a new teammate, and they're going to have access to Gmail, they're going to have access to Confluence, and they're going to have access to some sort of agent team that's going to do a lot of work for them. So our main focus is how does that feature look like securely, and how can teams like make it fit and work with their existing stack. So the talk today is around owning your agentic future, and without having to compromise things like security and flexibility. So the inevitable future in this is the fact that every organization is trying to embed AI into operations, into workflows, into day-to-day tasks. And things that we're already seeing that take usually 45 minutes are now being done in 45 seconds between like the skills, between local development. Most of work is going to be done by a lot of these agentic teams. And a lot of the focus that happens now, oh, okay. Okay, cool. Okay. So the question is, you know, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. But there's a trade-off here, right? So as a lot of these AI products are kind of coming out and saying, hey, we can completely operationalize, AFI your entire workflows, I think there's a lot of leaders are starting to question, like, how much do we have to trade off in order to have this kind of superpower? So one of those things is, you know, keeping credentials, making sure that things that touch sensitive systems are still under your control. Something that comes up a lot, especially in infrastructure, and we kind of went through this pain too, is the fact that if we're making agents that touch Kubernetes, like the first question we get asked is this going to tear down our Kubernetes cluster? And for the most part, if they don't have access to the agents, to the prompts, to the models, the best that I can say is like, just trust me, like it won't do it, right? And most of the time, that's not good enough. So in this world where these trade-offs do happen, our approach is to open source it. So we really believe that teams should be owning this agentic process end to end. So being able to build, to test, to deploy, and then also to consume at the very end. So part of what CloudChip is doing is building these forward deployed engineers. So being able to provide intelligence at the edge, closer to your systems, in places where they can gather rich context, under your control. So being able to deploy those prompts and those agents that you tested locally, that way you definitely know that it's not going to turn off a Kubernetes cluster. So the development experience should be the same across the board, the same way that development is done now. So you build locally, you can test locally, you should be able to deploy into a test environment, and then you should be able to take that and deploy into your production environment completely knowing that whatever you've been working on is reliable and trustworthy. And at the very end, being able to consume it in a very natural way. So Slack is a very obvious, and I'm not sure if you guys can see the slides or not very well, but being able to consume it in a natural way. So things like Slack, things like email, things like meetings. We envision a future where the entire development experience should stay the same regardless in this new future of agentic teams. So part of the reason why this next generation is going to actually live closer to your data is because there's a lot of answers that can only be answered at that very edge. So things like understanding a Kubernetes cluster and then tying that back into your observability. Being able to understand your deployment pipeline and then also your servers. So this rich cross-context information is really like the bread and butter for a lot of operational flows. So as agentic tooling becomes better, becomes smarter, now it's being able to move it closer and closer to that end result to get some of this information that is usually locked away in tribal knowledge and not one system can actually get to. So this kind of comes in a few different ways, but some very common use cases are building like multi-agent teams that can do things like coordinate incident responses, understanding log analysis, doing metric and doing deployments, all parts of the infrastructure stack. And then moving forward, as far as now you have these forward deployed agents doing a lot of the work, to be able to get them to understand and learn as they go along. So this continuous learning loop is going to be a big topic of conversation, especially in 2026. I don't know if you guys have seen these articles of context graphs. It made a lot of big news as far as like the real value is how these agents and AI systems answer the why of certain decisions. So being able to have your agentic team feed back into a continuous loop is going to be very important going forward. It's going to be able to do faster resolution, knowledge retention, pattern recognition, things like that. So this is why we built CloudShip, because we see that this future is coming, it's going to be inevitable, and we want to provide like the safest open source way that teams can actually own this entire process without compromising on the things I mentioned earlier, which is like flexibility and security. Now, I don't know if we have the demo available, but I was going to show you a little bit about what that looks like.
We're going to give it a try.
Okay. There we go. Okay. No pressure or anything, right? Okay. Okay. All right, so what does like a forward deploy team look like, right? And this is like my account for CloudShip, and what you're looking at is a connected forward deployed agent. So this is actually running on a server elsewhere. And the idea is, sorry, it's like impossible to see. So the idea is to be able to, hold on. Let me just refresh real quick. Okay. So the idea is to be able to deploy something on a server and then being able to see those agents and those MCP tools that you've configured and to be able to call them from any place that a team normally consumes. So being able to go into Slack. Oh, I have Slack here. Man, this is a great demo, huh? Okay. So being able to straight from Slack, be able to manage your remote agents that are touching your infrastructure, whether it's post-hog, whether it's Kubernetes, whether it's wherever, but that's under my control, right? Like I don't actually see any of the credentials. You can update the prompts, things like that. Being able to manage the station that's connected, and then being able to inspect and execute, right? I don't know. I can only type so good with one hand. But this is more so like the workflow that's going to happen in the future. Like as these teams start building out, you can start deploying like very niche use cases. So things like analyzing your NAT gateway, it analyzing logs, cross-referencing that with Grafana, and then being able to tie that all together and then give you feedback like right away to say, hey, my on-call engineer doesn't need to go dumpster diving for logs. Here's like the report. And the demo gods, please be with me. Right, it's still running. Okay. But you can see that these reports are coming back and they'll start feeding back into Slack. You can also see like things like this where it can start analyzing like NAT Gateway Cost Analyzer, be able to tell you like, oh, there's a critical NAT Gateway misconfiguration detected. Here's the problem, here's what's going on, and then be able to tell you, give you a trace of all the different tool calls that it did, right? So part of like the ownership model is observability. So as you go and deploy these agent teams to also have a manage not only on their prompts, but get visibility across your org on what they're actually doing. Let's see if it finished. Oh, it's stuck. Great. All right, well, that's more or less the demo I was gonna show. If anybody has any questions, I'll stop right there.
Awesome. Thank you, Esteban. I'll kick off the questions here. I guess I would like to start. You gave a lot of just examples of how agents will be embedded into our teams and kind of fleshed out how it might look like outside of the dev environment. I guess, is there a vertical use case you're most excited on or just seeing the highest ROI with agents, or maybe something like right around the corner as the models continue to improve that you're just super excited to see agents do?
Yeah, I'm very excited. Like, I think with the whole Ralph Wiggum thing and like things that are being taken end to end more. So before we were really prompting these AI models to do just very one specific task. And I think we're getting to the point where as these teams can start talking to each other in various different places, whether it's like a forward deployed set of teams or even locally, being able to see them take a workflow from start to finish. And I think that's like the best kind of use case. And I guess for infrastructure, like incident management is a very good one. Nobody likes getting pinged at 3 a.m. If it can do that from start to finish, that's great.
What kind of, so obviously this is a sort of an orchestration tool, right?
Yeah.
And there is a skill set that comes with orchestration of agents. What kind of support do you offer, or what kind of layout instructions do you provide or help with somebody trying to implement CloudShip into orchestration into any of their products right now?
Yeah, so the orchestration is a big deal, and I think it starts at the local level, being able to run like very good evals on the teams that you're building first. So it's like before you even deploy it, like you have to have confidence that what you're actually running is actually producing the value that you want. So not in this demo, there's more, one just focused on the open source piece, but I talk a lot about the orchestration and the evals up front. So when you do actually deploy it, you feel confident that that orchestration is working.
Is there anything that you're anticipating and excited about, like a threshold that you're excited about or anticipating crossing in like the next 6 months? What do you see as the near future?
I have a lot of thoughts on that. There's a lot going on. I think the holiday break kind of, there was like a moment with this Opus 4.5 and then the whole Ralph Wiggum thing and the whole Gastown where now everyone's realizing that to have a super agent, you need just a file system, bash, a good harness, and then Opus, right? So I think like what I'm excited for going in the future is the orchestration, going back to your point, on all of that put together. Like, you know, if you give an agent a file system and ridiculous intelligence, like what can it do? So, yeah.
Anyone else? Cool. Well, can you guys give one more round of applause for Esteban? And then just want to say thank you one more time to our lovely sponsor, Avro. Thank you guys so much for coming out. And if you guys haven't gotten any samples yet, highly recommend it. And then I just wanted to say thank you again for everyone in the room for coming out tonight. Really appreciate you guys spending the time. You're welcome. And that concludes tonight's programming. So if you want to stay and hang out, either just network or hack on something, more than welcome to. We have the space till 8 p.m. and then that's closing time.
Come drink some Abra, everyone. Thank you.